Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. I know I look all creepy. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Coming to you thanks to the beauty of generators. Yeah, so we will have a semi-normal show today because I have internet. The laptop is not plugged in, so it may run a little slower than normal, but there's more than enough juice, so we shouldn't have a hard time getting through the show. Who is here? I want to say good morning to Frank, Dennis, Jenny, and all the rest of you out there, whether you're watching live later or listening. I appreciate you coming by. Oh, yesterday was quite the day. So, of course, it was supposed to be a recording day. We had 4 interviews lined up. We haven't had 4 in a day. Actually, no, we had 4 last time I did. But we pushed them all of them. Now, I don't know what that's going to mean. Andrew and I will talk about that. But I expect I will do some recordings next week and then the week after. And that means that I don't get a recording break. That's okay. Well, I guess yesterday was my break. Power is still not on. It has not even tried to come back on. And yesterday around 3 o'clock, the battery backups lost their electricity. They ran out of juice. Oh, and one of my internet connections is down too. So thankfully I have 2. That's part of why I have 2. So I went out and I ran the snowblower. And at that point, about 3 o'clock, we were at, I would say, 12 inches of snow. Overnight, we've got, or since I snowblowed, we probably got another 6. So this is a big storm. And honestly, this is the longest I've been without power since I've been here. This is kind of crazy. And what that means is now I have to worry about things like really making sure the house stays warm, making sure the freezer stays cold, the fridge and the freezer in the house stay cold. I woke up to the fridge being about 50 something degrees. That's a little warmer than I'm comfortable with. So working on bringing that temperature down. And probably going to pull out I was thinking about pulling out the ice maker later. I'm probably not going to. I'm just going to get snow and put it in Ziploc bags and put it in various places. Stacy says, wonder how Tommy is doing. I'm sure Tommy is doing just fine. He's an old pro at stuff like this. Probably better at it than I am. But what this means is now I've got to work today. I've got to figure out how to do this. So running the generator yesterday, I was very thankful I had it. I've not run that functionally in the 10 years I've had it. I've had that generator. I bought it pretty much as soon as I bought this house. And I've kept it maintained. I've tested it. I haven't tested it in probably 6 months, which I was a little embarrassed about. But it started right up. It's a great little Honda generator. And it's enough to run one battery backup in the garage with the internet and another battery backup in here with the Wi-Fi and all the other internet equipment. I've got the TV going, not because I'm watching the TV, can't even hear it. It's a light. It's the biggest light I could use that helps here. See, if I take this out, see, that's the TV. This is a little bit more, but not much, actually. It's really not. So I'm just going to turn it off and save the juice on this. This is one of those automatic flashlights. I've got 3 of those. But what are the big things that I found through this thus far that I needed, that I felt I was lacking in? And this is I think this is a martial arts mindset. If we go out and we compete, test, or, we run in a more intense scenario in class, or it's simply just receiving feedback. We do what we do and we iterate on it and we get better, right? The big thing I'm wanting right now is a shower. So I ordered a camp shower. I found one. It was an open box at Amazon for $14. One of those solar showers, 5-gallon, perfect. I can hang it in my shower and I can warm the water on the stove, and now I can have a shower. Now, not now because it hasn't arrived yet, but that was the number one thing. Jenny's response on Tommy: the mountain man and his pups, I'm feeling pretty positively that he is surviving. And Stacy responds, sure, he's surviving, still not fun. And it's not fun, but at the same time, if you don't have a lot that you have to get done. Now, the two big things that were on my list today, the plumber was going to come and do the next step on that project that we've been trying to get done. I don't know if that's going to happen. It could happen because all the tools he's going to need are battery powered, but he's just down the road. He's a mile down the road. He might be dealing with his own stuff. And then the other thing was the house cleaner was going to come for the first time in almost 2 months, just between me being away and her sick kids. We're going to push that because without hot water or electricity for the vacuum, because the generator is not going to run the vacuum. I mean, it might, but I don't want to push it. Not a lot of point in cleaning. I do have a rechargeable vacuum, and I could vacuum if need be, but that's not really a priority right now. Other things that were on the list. I realized that the Wi-Fi setup I had, I've been wanting to do this a little bit. I'd wanted to add a couple more points to it. So I found a couple. Again, this is one of the best things about Amazon is the open box stuff. You can get great deals. People beat the tar out of a box when they open it, they return it, and Amazon discounts it heavily. So I got a couple of those coming. And then the last thing, this was something that I realized this morning when I figured out, okay, how am I going to cool the freezer and the fridge and everything? They make these interesting ice pack coolers, and I don't know what's quite in them, but they get colder than ice. Somehow putting them in putting them in a freezer, it can get as low as 18 degrees. Now, of course, the freezer's got to be 18 degrees to get it to 18 degrees, but it can get that temperature and hold there a lot longer. And I've got a few of them. They work wonderfully. So I've got some more of those in my Amazon cart. I'll probably grab those later today because I can keep them in the freezer and then move them to the fridge. And that, if there's a power outage in the summer, I got to do something. So as of start time, temperature in the fridge got back down to about 45. It'll keep going. As long as it's under 40, down 40, 42, I'm happy. And Jenny says, hooray for showers. She adds on, when I go camping, I still need a flushing toilet and a hot shower. Everything else I can figure out from my campsite. Yeah, I'm with you. The toilet's far more important to me than the shower. I haven't showered since Monday night. I'll be fine. There's nobody around to smell me. I don't think I smell yet. That's what deodorant's for. But we'll get there very soon if we're not there now. But that's the beauty of putting water up. I can put water in the back of my toilet and it flushes. The physics behind plumbing is actually quite simple. Far less complex than electricity. But electricity is actually not that far off. Dennis says to Jenny, I don't mind burying my poop. It's like a hidden treasure for someone else down the line. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully they're not finding it. You guys are silly. So I want to know what's going on with you, because I know this storm hit a bunch of you. I'm not in quite the same way that it's happening here. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching the show. But I want to know how you're faring. Do you have power? I'm guessing you have power. Are you safe? Is everything okay? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Is there anything else I want to tell you? It's Wednesday, so I'm going to do the books and chip away at some other work. The generator will probably run all day. I turned it on at 6. I turned it on last night at off at about 10. And that seems like a good window. It's pretty quiet. As generators go, it's quite quiet. And my neighbors definitely won't be able to hear it when they're in the house, because I can't even hear it in the house, unless I'm on that side of the house. But, just respectfully, and the animals and whatever, And I'm not going to run it overnight because there's really no need. I even turned off the internet overnight. That's unlike me. And woke up to my phone going, when I turned everything on, bing, 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 bing. Oof. So, yeah, I'll do the books. I got some client work. Andrew and I have a call. And good morning, Nathan. And I don't remember what else. My morning routine is very, very far off. Hopefully power comes back on today. I have not checked to see if they've made progress or if the continued heavy snow has knocked more trees down and they're just kind of holding in a holding pattern. Jenny says, very different on this side of the storm. We did see some snow, but it melted as it hit the ground. The rain moved out of the area overnight, but we've been dealing with high winds since late yesterday afternoon. The winds are supposed to stick around today. Good morning to you, Brian. Dennis says, we were generally spared here in central Connecticut, but just 10 to 15 miles northwest of us, there was close to a foot of snow, and Sarah's parents got 2 feet. Where are they? I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 2 feet out of this. I can't remember the last time we had a storm this big. This is a big storm for me. My tea was not as hot as I wanted it to be, but it's okay. Frank says, the last power outage we had, we were able to charge my mom's cell phone with a hand crank lantern. Well, that's handy. And Sarah's parents are in Northwest Massachusetts. I think everybody needs at least one of the cheapo, like $20 battery banks for charging your phone. I think it's so critical. I have 2, and I have one in my Amazon cart now because I have a big one. I have one that's fairly large, but it's old, and it doesn't put out enough juice to charge my laptop. A lot of newer laptops take a USB-C cord, and the main one does. And it won't charge off that. And I did a little bit of research and figured out why. So I've got one in the cart. And I can't buy everything all at once. But I'll grab one of those, $60. And that'll give me probably another charge through. Brian says, still snowing here. Oh, yeah. And Stacy says, yeah, her too. For those of you who don't know the geography, Brian's about 45 minutes south of me. Stacy's about 45 minutes north. Frank, that's a good idea. He says we're considering a battery backup for the 2 CPAPs at our house. So something to keep in mind, because this is new for me. And this is something that I'm a little disappointed in. Unless they have the newer battery backups I have, unless they have a completely full charge, as in turning them off after, being off the generator for less than 5 minutes. So they discharged, maybe 0.5%, if that, will not turn on unless they have power. So what does that mean? That means that I went out this morning. The plan this morning was just to turn the battery backups on and not run the generator until after the show. But I couldn't turn them on. You have to have the battery backups all the time. They have to be running all the time. So I would keep them powered on, plugged into the wall, and keep the CPAPs or something at least plugged into them, because they also function as a surge protector. And then when you lose power and they start beeping at you, there you go. Now, there may be special purpose ones, and there are certainly ones that you can turn off the beeping. I do not have those. Okay, just something to keep in mind. Keep in mind. Okay. So there you are. Now, Frank sent us over some stuff. We're going to tackle it. We're going to see where it takes us. Thank you, as always, to Frank for all the work that you do. Thank you to Josh for our theme song. Thank you to Denise for the audio. Stuff from Ann Landers. In the end, it's not what you do for your children, but what you've taught them to do for themselves. Yeah, I've talked about this, and I'll talk about it again. That it's such it was such an eye-opening statement for me. I don't have kids. Maybe I'll have kids one day, but I don't have kids. And the statement, "You don't raise a child, you raise an adult," really struck me because it completely changed the way I saw my own childhood and plenty of others. I'm just watching it come down. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that forget the goal is that you ultimately detach and the child goes off and becomes a functional human being. And that can't happen with an abrupt snap of the fingers at 18 or 22 or 30, whatever. There's a kids have to learn to fight their own battles, hopefully not physical battles. But I think those of us that work, maybe we're in our 40s or 50s, and we grew up when we grew up, and we also, whether through our own children or just being around children, see the way things are handled now, see that, yes, there's some compassion and some love applied now, trying to solve problems, but ultimately it doesn't give the kids the ability, the skill set to solve their own problems. And I think that that's doing the children a disservice. Kids need to learn how to fend for themselves. I actually emailed my mother last night, let her know, hey, been out power since 6 and using the generator for the first time. Thanks for teaching me what you did. We grew up, we just like here, oil furnace primary, but a wood stove backup. When the power went out, if you were opening the fridge, you better know darn well what you were getting and where it was. The longest my mother was ever out of power, I think, was 10 days. It was the ice storm of 98. And hopefully we're not there. I don't expect to be there, but things could happen. I mean, this is not that. You could see that was brutal. After 2 days, 3 days, I went back to college. Opportunities are usually disguised as hard work, so most people don't recognize them. Opportunities are usually disguised as hard work, so most people don't recognize them. I got a message. There was a message in one of the groups that I'm in. This is not a martial arts group, but some people that I like, some of them I know, some of them I don't know as well. But one of the people I know posted something yesterday. They're feeling defeated because they see what they're going for. And tell me this doesn't have a martial arts correlation. They see what they're going for. They see the life they're trying to live. They've got their goals and they see a path. But seemingly every time they take a step forward, there's another obstacle, another roadblock that they weren't expecting. And they're feeling really down about it. But at each juncture, there's also another way they could go where it's easier. It doesn't bring them in the direction they want to go, but it's a much simpler path. How many people does that explain with their martial arts training? Do this. Oh, the form's fine enough. I don't need to compete. I'm just going to quit training. Right? That's a lot of people. This happens with a lot of people at, brown, red belt, that kind of pre-black belt stage where they just go, oh, this is really hard now. You mean I've got to learn these and remember all those? I've got to be able to do this. And they're not willing to put the time in. Big stuff comes to those who put in big effort. Nothing worth having comes easy. There are a lot of cliches that say this. And this is part of the reason, I think, without them finding a way to articulate it, this is part of the reason that I think some of the folks who get down on simpler, shorter time, younger black belts, which I think you all know my opinion on that. Everybody teach their own. I think this is what some of those folks are trying to express when they're critical of that, because they want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to gain the benefit of that upward progress, that effort for that return. And if it's too easy, it doesn't mean as much. It doesn't provide the benefit. It's not the signpost in life that you can refer back to and say, I did this, so I can definitely do that. And our last one from Ann Landers today, maturity. Be able to stick with a job until it is finished. Be able to bear an injustice without having to get even. Be able to carry money without spending it. Do your duty without being supervised. One more time. Be able to stick with a job until it is finished. Be able to bear an injustice without having to get even. Be able to carry money without spending it. Do your duty without being supervised. Pardon me. Yeah. Said in a martial arts context, knowing that if you send someone off to train something, either at home or in the back of class or wherever, they'll do it. Most of us have the experience of being in a class or running a class, and you say, all right, I want you to go practice that over there. And they don't. Here's a hint. You've got to give them a number. The younger they are, the shorter the number. All right, I want you to go do that for them 3 times and then come check in with me. If they're a little older, maybe it's 5 times. Maybe it's 5 minutes, right? Something that they can determine for themselves, the start and end. Because remember, people don't do well with things that have no endpoint. And if you put them in charge and they're immature of where the endpoint is, it's too much. And the younger they are, likely the less mature they are, and it's way too much to ask of them. So just a tip, a teaching tip from me to you. I hope you have a great day. I hope wherever you are, you have power and heat and have a simpler day in front of you than I do. My day is not super complex. Just there are things on my plate that I've got to deal with now that I don't normally. So I hope to see you back here tomorrow. And yeah, that's it. Take care, everybody. I appreciate you. Be well. Peace.